Switzerland comes number one as the least corrupt. But the last time I checked, a handler of stolen goods is guiltier than the person who stole the goods because he is an enabler. So Switzerland is a beneficiary of corruption. That is smart corruption. All the tax havens, Cayman Islands, Guernsey, these are the home of corruption. African countries African corrupt people, African thieves, even presidents don't have faith in the countries that they are governed. So they keep money in those places. So corruption in Europe has evolved and it's become a little smarter. And for that reason, they claim that they are not corrupt, but they are the ones who give a veneer of legality. They're the ones who give refuge, if you may, to money that has been stolen, not only in Africa, but in different parts of the world. So they are the most corrupt. The corruption in Africa is more crude. This is the problem. The corruption in Africa is very crude. You see it in your face. This is why it is much more painful. And it is painful because our systems don't even work. In Europe and America, over the years, they have succeeded in using the money that they stole from us during slavery and colonization to make systems work. So that their public systems work, their travel systems work, their education system work, their health systems work largely. But in Africa, you have individuals who are taking food out of the mouths of people who are causing death by taking things from the health sector, from agricultural sector. In the United States of America, in order to give a veneer of legality to corruption, people who are midwives and enablers of corruption are called lobbyists. They call them lobbyists. These are the fellows you give money, but they are just corrupt. So one is saying that corruption is known to all humanity. But the reason why we find it greatly painful in Africa is you find a head of state or a cabinet minister taking money from a poor population and a poor country and keeping it in the Panamas or in all these countries, while even the monies that you see African countries borrow, the presidents, most of them actually have that money. At one time, it is said that President Mobutu Sese Seko of what was then Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of Congo, had more money than his own country. And the irony, of course, is that he had stolen it from the country. So never be impressed by the idea Africa is more corrupt. Corruption in Africa is just more crude and more painful and more hurtful because it denies us of very basic requirements. Corruption will never be totally eliminated. In the nature of human beings is that we'll always engage in some kind of shortcut, but corruption can be reduced to a very minimal level so that it is the exception rather than the rule. And that is what we are anchoring upon. We must reduce corruption so that it is the exception other than the rule. As it is now, corruption is the rule. Honesty is the exception. Can it be done? Yes, it can be done. Has it been done? Yes, it has been done. And I've already given you examples of countries where it has been done in our lifetime. It can be done.
So if I ask you, what is one of those things that has hindered the growth and development of Africa? What is that one single most dangerous thing that has made sure that Africa stays the way it is? Some people might say colonization. Well, it certainly had a negative impact on the continent. Some of you might say authoritarianism, dictatorship. That too is a serious problem in the continent. Some of you might say foreign interference, like the French interference in Africa and the takeaway of African leaders by America and their agencies. That too is a problem, and that too has contributed. But if you ask me, nothing has been very destructive or devastating to the growth and development of Africa than corruption. corruption has been a very, very serious problem in Africa. Corruption has been one of those things that has kept Africa the way it is. Now, let's be clear. Not only Africa is corrupt, there is corruption everywhere. There is corruption in the West. There is corruption in the East. Most countries around the world, if not all, there is a little bit of corruption there. Everywhere there's corruption. There's bribery. There is misappropriation of public funds. But nowhere it is as great as Africa. Nowhere it is as massive as Africa. Nowhere it is as institutionalized than Africa. In Africa, in my home country, where I came from, it's not difficult to find corruption in every single thing that people do. It's like the order of the day. It's like corruption has become one of those things that people kind of like feel they have to do it. You have to corrupt somebody to get something done, that is giving bribe. Somebody needs to collect something for every single thing they do, that is collecting bribe. This corruption has been a very destructive force in Africa. And the most funniest thing is that people who are supposed to do something about it are the ones who are being corrupt the most, are the corrupted ones. So they find no interest in doing anything about it. Ask yourself this question. Ask yourself this question. If there was a way we could reduce corruption to a bare minimum, do you know how far we will go? Do you know how far we will go? And sometimes it's very difficult to understand. It's so difficult to understand that these people, they will embezzle all this money, or they will misappropriate all this money, right? They will steal all government funds, and they will not invest it in the country. They will not do anything with it. They will just store it in their houses. They will just ship it to foreign accounts abroad. And the common person will be dying, will have nothing to eat, will have nothing to help themselves with. While government officials, people in power, people fortunate enough to occupy top government positions, will be stealing everything and just storing it in their houses or sending it abroad. It's quite funny. Why can't they just reinvest the money in the system and make sure that it circulates and help people? Why can't they do that? Why can't they do what is right? Why can't they say, okay, I am occupying this position, so I'm going to take this, and then I'm going to use this to fix this place? Why can't they even fix the road they are driving on? Why can't they make sure that people have jobs? When people have jobs and they are able to work and support themselves, they can spend more, and by so doing, the officials can steal more if they want. Why can't they see it that way? While all what they do is just stealing. Why? This is something that is really, really difficult for me to understand. Because if you go to other countries, for example, Asia is super corrupt. There are a lot of corrupted people in Asia, especially in China. But do you know what they do? If a project costs, let's say, $1,000 to get done, what they do is they budget $2,000 for that project. $1,000 will be stolen by them, will be embezzled by them. and then $1,000 will be used to get that job done. But at the end of the day, that job will be done completely. It will be done. Companies who are bidding for government contracts will bribe government officials to get those contracts. But at the end of the day, those companies must get the job done. I am not condoning corruption and bribery. No. I am not condoning embezzlement. No. I'm just saying that there is a way we can do this where everyone can benefit. There is a way we can make sure that the common people in society get something for themselves, while the politicians and government officials get something for themselves. A win-win way for everybody. That's just what I'm saying. It's not difficult. In Africa, they will budget twice the amount needed for a particular project. And the saddest thing is that project will never ever be completed. Never ever. In my home country, it's the order of the day. It's so common that we have seen it like a lot. They will put in a government tender that there's a contract that they want people to do, and that people should come in and bid for the contract, and they will give it to the best bidder, whatever they call it. People will come in, people will bribe those in charge of doing the bidding. And these so-called private companies, one of them will win this contract and gets the budget for it. But the shocking thing is that contract will never be done. Everything will be abandoned. And the person who is supposed to make sure that that contract is being done, the government official who is supposed to supervise that contract, won't do their job. They also will be bribed. The governors will be bribed. The people or the supervisors, people who are supposed to be looking out for the interests of the general public, will also be bribed. Everyone will be bribed except the masses. Those ones, no one care about them. Those ones, no one is even thinking about them. Those ones, well, they have to be by themselves. They have to struggle for themselves. Then they will pay taxes and then they will get nothing in return. That is how Africa is. And that's why Prof is crying that if only we could reduce this whole corruption in Africa, if only we could do something to make it minimum, just reduce it, not like eliminate it, because that would be like an impossibility. To totally eliminate it, it would be like a far cry or a fool's errand. But if we could just reduce it to a bare minimum, do you know how much development will take place in Africa? I believe in the power of information. I believe in the power of people being aware of things. Knowledge, they say, is power, and is totally correct. So I hope that as we, the young people, get educated, as we, the young people, follow Prof. Lumumba, we become wiser, we become knowledgeable to understand that everything is good, but too much is bad. And that we must try our best to make sure that we have a balance of things. To make sure that one thing does not outweigh the other. To make sure that we must do what is right when it's right. But you guys out there, especially my people from Africa, what is the level of corruption in your country? Are your leaders doing anything to reduce corruption in your countries, or they are the one involved in corruption? Let us know in the comment section below, because like always, we love hearing what you have to say. And also, please don't forget to like this video, share this video, follow our Facebook page, and most importantly, subscribe to this channel, because little bit of good way, like the one you're doing just now, help us a lot. I shall forever be grateful to you. So thank you very much for doing just that. And like always, see you in the next one.